you'll be liable.
I'm
Convenient.
going to
Yeah,
be turned on.
exactly.
Yeah, right now. Yeah, you might be
Matt's turned me on. How'd you get on without me for 2 months?
Bloody peaceful.
Go on, you here.
Welcome everybody. I declare the meeting open and welcome everybody here. Advise that the meeting will be digitally recorded in accordance with the council policy to record the meetings of council to assist in the preparation of minutes and to allow live streaming of our council meetings. A reminder to those in attendance to ensure their mobile phones are switched to silent throughout the meeting. The Circular Council acknowledges the North West Tasmanian Aboriginal people as the traditional custodians of the country on which we stand, meet and play. We recognise their continuing connection to the land, waters and community. We pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. Attendance, we've got a couple of leave of absence. Councillor Bosky is here though, which is good. Councillor Pilkington is a leave of absence. No apologies. If we could be upstanding for prayers, please.
Let's take a moment to clear our minds and focus on achieving outcomes that serve the greater good of the whole community. May light illuminate all present and support everyone to bring their highest and best selves to the debate and the decisions that are made here tonight. Amen.
Thank you. Before we move on, I'll just take a moment to acknowledge Lucas, who's out the back and is a big part of actually live streaming this. It's his last day of work with us here tomorrow. He moves on to Burnie.
Yep.
So we wish him the best and thank him for his service that he's given us here. Councillor Oldacre?
I wish to endorse those remarks, but the other thing I stand to is that we should make acknowledgement of 2 young boys out of this district that made an under-19 basketball side, which they go to Switzerland on the 26th of June. Now, to get 2 in one side, it's a big effort for this community.
Yep. Noted.
Jacob Furphy and Nash Walker.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Oldacre. So we'll add that acknowledgement to the start of the meeting. So thank you. 2.1, if we can have confirm the minutes of the last of the council meeting on Thursday the 10th of April. So the mover, Councillor Dabner, seconded Deputy Mayor. No debate. Put the motion. Those in favour.
Aye.
Against. Carried. Declarations of interest.
Ask for councillors.
Councillors, is there any declarations of interest? No?
Yeah, I've been provided a declaration of interest in relation to item 6.1 from Alison Pike in the Planning Authority part of the agenda.
Thank you.
And Alison will lead the meeting for that part of the agenda.
4.1, Mayor's communications and meetings. There's a little few there. Is there any questions on those? Councillor Hine?
Just on coffee was Serena Maguire. That's just a general chat sort of thing.
Yeah, I haven't, given circumstances, I hadn't caught up with Selena for a little while, so we just had a coffee in the chat about what's the bits and pieces and stuff. So it was just a standard one that we have. There's nothing specific in it.
Thank you. And the second one is down on the 15th to the 5th, Western Emergency Management Committee meeting.
Thanks, Councillor Hine, because I need to note that was postponed. Sorry, Matt. It wasn't why I just didn't turn up. It's been postponed till early June. So
thank you.
That will be here in early June. No further. If I could have a move and a second, that they be noted. Thank you, Councillor Collins. Second, Councillor Dabner. No debate. Put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carry. 4.3, some workshops there.
Mr Mayor, I do note that Cradle Coast were not part of that meeting.
True. They were. Thanks, Councillor Oldacre. So can we make sure their CCA on the 8th to the 5th is taken off that list, please, Matt? Thank you. They were down to, but it was changed. So, any other points, questions? If not, if I can have a mover that they be noted.
So moved.
Councillor Oldacre, second, and Councillor Hine. No debate. I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
No.
Against? Carried. Okay, the council, I will read a bit. The council encourages community participation in its meetings through providing this opportunity for public questions and statement consistent with council's core values. Councillors and staff strive to ensure all people are treated with courtesy and fairness, dignity and respect, and we expect our residents and ratepayers to apply similar standards in dealing with councillors. As Mayor, it is my responsibility to maintain the orderly conduct of the council meetings and determine whether a question or statement is out of order due to use of offensive, objectionable or defamatory language. I ask members of the public to show proper consideration and courtesy, and tonight I intend to give everyone who wishes to speak the opportunity to ask 2 questions or make a statement if they wish. Any more than 2 questions will be permitted at my discretion. Now's the time for any questions about planning matters as well that may be on the agenda tonight. If anyone wishes to speak, please come to the front, state your name clearly for the record. That was a long speech for nothing, wasn't it? Okay, well, we'll move on to planning. 6 point. I'll remind the councillors now that we're sitting as a planning authority. No need to stand to speak, but we're working as that planning authority. 6.1, which is, thanks, Alison. George? Yeah. George, you're up, mate?
Yes, I can hear you. Can everyone hear me?
Yes?
Yep.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Through you, Mayor. So, item 6.1 is the development application, DA 2024 108 206 Montague Road, Smithton, which is for the construction of an outbuilding with a swimming pool and separate outbuilding extension. So, the recommendation for this particular application is for refusal. What I'll do is I'll briefly run through the site, the application, and the particular provision that the application has been assessed as not complying with, and then I'll run through the recommendation and then hand it back to council for any questions. So working through the agenda report on page 3, which is figure 2, the site is highlighted by the yellow boundary. It's a roughly rectangular site with an area of 1,000 square metres. It's located in a rural living zone on Montague Road, around about 13 kilometres west of Smithton. It's in an unserviced area, unserviced by sewer. The site itself contains a house and 4 outbuildings, as well as a couple of hard stand areas. So figure 2 on page 3 of the agenda indicates where the proposed pool building will be located, along with the proposed shed extension. The application relies upon 2 performance criteria within the planning scheme. One relates to site coverage and the other one relates to the eastern side setback of the pool building. With respect to the side setback, the building has been found to be compliant with the performance criteria and it satisfies that standard of the scheme. With respect to site coverage, site coverage is a term that means the proportion of the site excluding any access strip covered by roof buildings. The acceptable solution of the standard allows a site coverage of 400 square metres, and if you don't meet that, then you rely on the performance criteria. In this instance, the total site coverage that exists already, which is the roof buildings on the site, is 1,155 square metres. Proposed development will increase that to approximately 1,443 square metres. It therefore exceeds, the site coverage currently exceeds and will be exceeded further by the proposed development. The primary test of this provision is that roof buildings, the site coverage of roof buildings must be consistent with that existing on established properties within the area. So the key focus on that was to review define the area and review the area of roofed buildings on each of those lots. The analysis has been provided within Figure 3 to demonstrate the location of the area, and then Tables 1 and 2, which go through and analyse the area of the lot and then an area of roofed buildings and site coverage for each of those lots. The analysis has concluded that of all of those lots within the area, the proposed development will have the highest, or currently has the highest, but will have an increasingly higher site coverage than any other properties within the area. This increase or the degree of difference is approximately 675 square metres difference between the proposed development and the next highest site that contains buildings in terms of site coverage. On that basis, it's being assessed as not being consistent with the site coverage of surrounding buildings and has been assessed as failing to comply with that particular performance criteria. And on that basis, the recommendation is that the application be refused on the basis that it doesn't satisfy performance criteria 11.4.1 of the Tasmanian Planning Scheme, incorporating the circular headlight provision schedule. So I'll leave it at that. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and I will hand it back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, George. Is there any questions?
Yep.
Yes, thanks, Councillor Dedman.
George, we do have some discretionary power on this matter, is that right?
Yes, you do.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, I need then a mover or seconder. Mover.
Can I propose an alternate motion, Mr Mayor?
We will accept.
Wording of which should appear magically on the screen in just a moment. Effectively, it's still the original motion. However, the word refuses is changed to approve with the following conditions and notes, which have been distributed to councillors already. I think there's a paper copy around here somewhere as well for anyone who wants to have a look.
Need a seconder for that. Deputy Mayor.
Second that.
Councillor Deputy, you wish to speak to that?
I do. I think given we've got some discretion on this matter and the development application does conform with the requirements of the planning scheme in every respect other than roof coverage, I don't think it's unreasonable for us on this occasion to use our planning authority discretion to approve this application.
Councillor Deputy Mayor.
No, I totally agree with Mark on that. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Any other speakers for or against? If not, I will put the motion as it is on the board. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Thank you. Wait for Alison to come back.
Just through you, Mr Mayor, just while waiting for Alison to come, I guess just to remind councillors that they've used the discretion there and they've made a decision. What's important is that we record the reasons for that, which is we'll pick up the comments from Mark in relation to that in the minutes, which will satisfy the requirements of the meeting procedure regulations in relation to being a planning authority and going against any advice that's been provided. So that'll be recorded in the minutes, the reasons associated with that decision.
Thank you. So we're up to 6.4, 6.2? 6.2, subdivision. George.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What I might do is I'll just quickly share my screen. Can everyone?
Yep, sort of.
I don't know how good the viewing is there, but this is just the agenda report. So it's page 2 on the agenda. So item 6.2 is for development application SA 2024/4, which relates to 2 lots, which are 5 to 13 Scotchtown Road and also 29 to 37 Scotchtown Road, Smith Newton. On the image on the screen, which is figure 1 on page 2 of the agenda, identifies both of these lots. So 5 to 13 Scotchtown is the tall timber site, and then 29 to 37 Scotchtown Road is a vacant land. It is owned by Tall Timbers, but is a vacant lot that is slightly separate from the main complex or facility of Tall Timbers. This particular application was for subdivision, and I will scroll down to figure 2 in the agenda, which is on page 3. This is the final iteration of what has been rather a complicated backstory. I won't go into too much detail as to the previous versions of the subdivision, but the proposal was always for a two-lot subdivision. Some previous iterations included mixtures of boundary adjustments and various other arrangements of lot boundaries. The primary issue that has caused some delay in this particular application has been to do with the involvement of the Department of State Growth, or DSG, and their management of Bass Highway. Some of the previous designs relied upon access from Bass Highway, and the Department of State Growth had effectively maintained all the way through the process that no access is allowed. There were attempts to utilise an existing limited access licence from Bass Highway, but the basic crux of that was it wasn't able to be transferred through to any of the lots that were subject to this application. So there is some intricacy involved with that. What has ended up is this application, with this application, is effectively the subdivision design that we're looking at now, which is for Lot 1 and Lot 2. So Lot 1 will be the 10.7 hectare lot, which will effectively contain the Tall Timbers facility and its curtilage, including all facilities associated with that. Proposed Lot 2 will be the remaining balance area, or the agricultural land, and that will continue to be used as is, which is, as I understand, used for grazing and adjustment and so forth. In order to resolve the access concern that DSG had, it was proposed to utilise the other lot on 2937 Scotchtown Road, which is down in the bottom corner here, and the purpose of that was to provide a 10 metre wide right of way to provide the vehicular access to Lot 2. So in terms of the assessment against the planning scheme provisions, there were two provisions that rely upon discretion. One relates to one that is specific to subdivision, and then the second, specific to subdivision that doesn't need to be categorised into a used class, which has been assessed as complying with that particular provision, clause 7.10 of the scheme. And then the main subdivision provision within the rural zone, which is clause 20.5.1, and it's relied upon P1A and C, and the assessment within the application is determined that it satisfies those particular provisions. The first provision relates to ensuring that each lot has sufficient usable area and dimensions suitable for the intended purpose. So in this instance, the intended purpose of Lot 1 is to retain the established Tall Timbers facility, and then Lot 2 is to retain it as existing agricultural land. They both have dimensions that are suitable for those intended purposes. And then the second part of that requirement is to, for each lot to be provided with frontage or legal access to a road by right of way. So proposed Lot 1 will have frontage to Scotchtown Road and the existing access, and technically Bass Highway, this boundary here, is also a frontage. Now for proposed Lot 2, it has technical frontage along Bass Highway, although that's not considered to be frontage in the eyes of DSG, and they aren't able to use that for access purposes. So the alternative form of access, or in this instance, the primary form of access, is via the right-of-way. The right-of-way meets the width requirements under the scheme, and on that basis has been deemed to satisfy that particular provision. There has been one submission or representation, which was a fairly substantial one from the Department of State Growth, and that's been provided in full on page 4, with the response provided on page 5 of the agenda. Within the response, DSG effectively detailed the history of the application and the concerns that they have with the access and their position that Bass Highway doesn't constitute frontage. There are some differences between the planning scheme and the Department of State Growth's legislation. They also included there some requests for conditions to be applied. These haven't been provided in full because we need to ensure that conditions have a proper planning purpose, and a lot of the conditions that they requested simply weren't required for a planning merit position. The conditions, however, that have been applied, which reflect some of the requirements of DSG, are condition 5, which relates to the sealing of the final plan, and prior to the sealing of the final plan for both lots, we need to ensure that the applicant must ensure that the right-of-way is created over 29 to 37 Scotchtown Road, and also that the new crossing that's proposed is constructed. So the purpose of that condition is to provide Lot 2 with an as-constructed crossover and right-of-way to make sure that access is efficient and readily identifiable from Scotchtown Road. And we've also included condition 6, which is just reiterating DSG's position, which is that access for approved lots 1 and 2 from Bass Highway, no access is for those lots is permitted or implied by this permit. Just to reiterate the fact that I think there are some existing accesses and some other arrangements there that DSG wanted to be rectified through this process, but again, that's a matter between the landowner and DSG. And then we've also included some notes in there as well from DSG. So on the basis of that summary, we're putting forward a recommendation that the application for the 2-lot subdivision is approved, subject to the conditions and notes that are listed. And I'll hand it back over to you now, Mr. Mayor, for any questions that you might have.
Thanks, George. Any questions? No? Then can I have a move and a second? Thanks, Councillor Oldacre. Seconded, Councillor Dabner. Wish to speak, Councillor Oldacre?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a shame this has taken so long to get through, George, and if you're still listening. There was an access off the Bass Highway. When they put that Bass Highway, State Growth put the fence up because it used to come to that corner. And the road went across. There used to be a piggery over there on the block. It's now in question. And that's where they went. And I can tell you that is absolutely true, because when I was a small boy, and that wasn't yesterday, is that I went there with my father to go and buy pigs out of the abattoirs, out of the piggery there, and the piggery didn't get pulled down till after that road was built. Right? So it's frustrating when you're dealing with some bureaucracy people, but we need to get this on because there's a few other things hanging on this, and we need to get this passed with all the notes and conditions that go with it. And I call on the council to support it.
Thanks, Councillor Oldacre. Councillor Dabner?
Yes, I have something to say. Probably nothing constructive, but I'll say it anyway.
Councillor
I'll
Debney?
be approving. Oh, do I?
Oh, no, no.
I didn't think I did.
No.
No, there you go. Oh, stay seated.
Well,
Save my legs. I'll be supporting the approval of this application. Tall Timbers have had this project on swimming around on the hook for a very, very long time now. I hope it's satisfying for them to finally have the thing in the boat. Tall Timbers have been a very important and integral part of this community for quite a long time in its current form. And I'm very, very pleased that this is finally happening so that they can move forward with their plans and the plans that are hanging off this approval can finally get cracking as well.
Thanks, Councillor Debney. Any other speakers for or against?
Yeah, I'll be supporting this as well. It's, other things, is, like Councillor Aldo said, swinging in there, ready to go. Progress all round, really. Yeah, good for everyone.
Thank you. Any other speakers? No, I concur with what's will come on the back of this. It's very positive, so I concur. So I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Now we return to our council meeting, councillors. 7.1.1 there, Councillor Hine had a question on the Redcar storage shed with the officer's response. You good there, Councillor Hine?
Yes, thank you. And you didn't really answer the question. Did the Red Part, you said they helped and were part of it, but didn't answer the question whether they actually, any dollars went towards the Red Part football club on that, or that.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. I'd have to take that question on notice. I'm not aware of that there was any monetary transfer there, but I'll take the question on notice and confirm.
Thank you.
I think we got no questions in writing. 7.3, questions without notice, councillors. Councillor Flower Beecher.
There was a procedural motion put on over the signage on the utes that'd be laid on the table. So when's that coming back to council?
Good question.
Just that it's been well and truly over.
I know there's a report done.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. There has been a report completed, and it will be scheduled at a workshop, upcoming workshop to discuss.
Well, there was a procedural motion, as far as I understand, I could be wrong. It's got to come back to the table.
It's certainly got to end up back at the table because it was a motion and then there was an amendment to the motion and it was set aside to be brought back for debate and it was left while you was away from memory. So it can come to the workshop, but it's got to end up back at the council table. Yep.
No worries. With the building permits, can we extend the time, like, can we extend the time of the building permit? Just that you can't get tradesmen at the moment, and a lot of the building permits are running out of time because one reason they can't get tradesmen. I think it's 2 years at the moment.
I think it is.
Can we extend it, or do we or is it in legislation?
It's in legislation, I think, but I'll pass to Alison. Mate, please.
You're right about the 2 years. So they've got 12 months to start, 2 years to complete. If they can't complete within that 2 years, then they can apply for an extension of time. And not getting tradies is one of the accepted reasons as to why you would apply for an extension.
Yeah, no, just that I've had a few say to me that they're running out of time because they can't get people to do the job.
It is in legislation, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it's in legislation, so we can't change that rule. Right. We can make it easy if they apply with that provision to extend, but we can't make it there because it's in the legislation.
No worries, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Aldo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My first question is to James. Have you had any discussion with the builder dealing with the building that's going on in whatever that street is.
Wilson Street.
Wilson Street in Stanley.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, I haven't. I've made an attempt to contact the builder and he hasn't returned my call. What I can confirm about that matter is that council officers have verified that the correct building and planning permits and processes are in place. And if that building is constructed in accordance with the plans, there should be no issue. So we've got a constant eye on that project to ensure that happens.
Thank you, sir, but there is some concern that it doesn't apply. It doesn't apply with the building thing. That's why I keep asking the question. I have some other questions tonight that I'll ask in closed agenda too, which there'll be two of. The issue that has me quite upset, sir, is the truck wash at Stanley. Now, at the March council meeting, I asked the question, and it's recorded, that it had been a certain time, would accept that it had gone past, which was more than 42 days. Now, on the 21st of January, there was a letter sent from this council to the applicants wanting certain conditions applied to. On the 23rd, they answered those questions. After the March council meeting, there was a report, an email come, in fact the next day, to say that there'd been a letter sent on the 5th of March. And then the TDIA got involved because they was going to put it out on a dairy farm, but the TDI, which controlled dairy farm effluent, were wanting this farmer to build 2 ponds half the size of Lake McCartney. Now, I'm not exaggerating, that's how silly some of that's got, right? The proponents came to me and said, we've got an approval now to put the waste into Squeaky Point.
Pelican Point.
Pelican Point, Squeaky Point, whatever you like to call it.
Yep, the ponds there. Yep.
The ponds. And I thought, beauty, we're about to go. Then, last night, I just checked my emails before I went to bed. Here's an email from the proponents stating we want more information. And that letter is dated the 15th on a council letterhead. The blood pressure just went up 3 or 4 notches real quick. You might think I'm being a bit dramatic, but I've been trying to work through this with these people. We have been more than 3 years on the go with this truck wash. It is time. And then there was an email come from you, sir, today about we've asked for more information. Why wasn't that information asked when you sent the first letter?
Is that the question?
That's the first part of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. It's my understanding that the recent request for information wasn't a request for additional information. It was a letter to make the applicants aware that they hadn't provided satisfactory information to the first request. So there's no request for any additional.
The letter that I read, and I stand to be corrected, clearly said we've requested for more information. Now this has gone on for 12 months. These people, through the goodness of their heart, have been washing the road at Stanley. Now I could bring it to a head and advise them not to wash the road. And you watch the whole thing just break out. Because it's like, how many times can we come here to the table, ask the questions, and you're trying to do everything right? And I know there was a problem with the planning thing, and now going to advertise it that it's going to go. Like, let's get real.
Thanks, Councillor Oldacre. So, where's exactly that, James?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. At the moment, the information request that Councillor Oldacre is referring to is the plumbing, to do with the plumbing. So it's around a lack of information in regard to a redundancy system and how they would deal with an effluent spill. So,
I think the whole matter, really look back, unfortunately comes to some misinformation in the very early stages. Has been going on, I know, but
Through you, Mr Mayor, I guess the other part is it is going through a planning process, so we can't just issue a permit without going through the proper process, and it will be advertised this week, and we'll go through that process. So we haven't been able to do that until we got the information we've only just got in recent times in relation to the effluent treatment, which you referred to, in relation to the fact that Taswater have accepted to take that, which gave them that solution, which allowed us to then advertise the application this week.
that goes in Saturday paper.
Yep.
Yep. Councillor Oldacre?
But the proponents, they are under no obligation to be washing the streets, are they?
Through you, Mr Mayor, there will be certain obligations. I'm sure if it was on the Bass Highway, I'd imagine that State Growth might have some powers around that if they were found to be...
It's happening on the Bass Highway all the time, sir. Right? Spillage of that, nobody's washing that. Yet we expect these people, who are really good corporate citizens, employ a lot of people in this community, been getting the runaround. They are absolutely jack of it, to the point that they could pull it, just walk away from it, because at the present time, what could happen, if they stop washing the road, the trucks at the present time are all being, the wash of these trailers, it's all happening at the truck wash in Swifton now.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I've met with Greenhams in relation, had the discussion with Greenhams. I understand fully what Councillor Oldacre is saying. At the end of the day, we're unable to deal with the issue without going through a proper process. The proper process is to go through the issues of land use planning approval, which we're going through, and we've finally got it back into that state now, which wasn't in a few weeks ago or a few months ago. We are there now, which allows us to advertise it and get the application moving again, where it's been stalled for some, I guess, 12 months or something like that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Flowers?
I'm washing of the streets. We've got to give Greenham's a pat on the back, because they're washing the streets not only for themselves, they're washing the streets for other companies as well. It's not only them that's bringing cattle through there. So, like I said, they don't have to do it, and I cannot see the company from up the coast coming down washing the streets. They only give us the bird. But now, once this one goes through, we've got another surprise from them after this, because just seeing surprise after surprise. Like, how long is it going to take? Like Councillor Oldacre said, it's well and truly should have been done years ago.
Through you, Mr Mayor, it's in the land use planning and approvals process. There will be a clock there that will be restarted now, and it'll be assessed. And depending on that assessment process, and obviously it's been advertised, there could potentially be representations come in. We need to work our way through all that, and it may be able to be approved on delegation. It may need to come to council depending on what delegations are there. So it's in the process, and the clock's ticking again, and it's being advertised, which will be 2 weeks assessment. So any permit would at least be 2 or 3 weeks away. If it needs to come to council, I would have thought it would have found its way to the council meeting, next council meeting in June.
Thank you.
So have they asked all their questions, or have they got a few more there ready to spring on them? Like, are we going to ask any more questions, or is this the final lot of questions?
Through you, Mr Mayor, we wouldn't be able to ask any. Now we've accepted the application, we've advertised it. Now we'll assess with the information we've got. We wouldn't be able to go back and seek more information. We could get clarification, but not ask any more questions because the clock's now ticking and we need to assess the application.
Councillor Hine, you had something?
It's really a whole fiasco.
Hang on.
Just through you, Mr Mayor, Alison just reminded me that we've got to work through the issues with the plumbing permit as well, which is outside the land use planning.
That's where I come to, because that original design was a closed circuit design, and so why do we need to go to all this trouble and when it's a closed circuit thing, everything there's a pump and everything and tanks, reservoirs and things like that, and as long as that's pumped out properly, it's a closed circuit. So it just seems to me a complete shambles, and it should have been done 3 years ago.
Councillor Hine, it's like a lot of things in the planning that we would like to be different. It is what it is. Councillor Flowers?
Sam, we've got a plumbing side in it as well. As the plumbing side, done and dusted, or are we going to ask more questions about the plumbing side?
Well, through you, Mayor, the advice that I thought that the director said before is we've asked more information about the plumbing to be able to deal with the plumbing permit that's required for the site. So with that response back, and then we'll look at the plumbing issues. But you got any more to that?
Any further questions? Thank you, councillors. Now, 8.1, notice of motion, councillor Flowers.
This is about, or I'd like to move the motion on that this council do not buy, purchase or acquire any electric cars. That's doing our world not justice. Like, I need a second read.
Yeah, you will. You need a second to proceed. Seconded by councillor Dabner. Yes, thanks, councillor Flowers.
Yeah, these cars are built in countries where they're paying slave labour. They're killing their waterways, they're killing their people, they're killing their tribes. It's not good. We've got a government here in Australia that's subsidising this industry by giving grants to produce these. I just don't want to see this council part of that. Like, it's not the right thing. We'll put it this way, if it was happening in Australia, they'd be screaming. Like, but they don't mind doing it to other countries throughout the world, especially the undernourished or the people that are working there for nothing. Yeah, they're just taking advantage of these countries.
Thanks, councillor Flowers. Councillor Dabner, you wish to speak?
Do, Mr Mayor. I'll be supporting this motion. I think anyone who saw that television special on dirty lithium and how it's sourced, how it's produced and how many people are dying on a daily basis to actually make it, and the lack of responsibility from the car manufacturers at the time, or indeed a lack of knowledge about where their batteries are even sourced from or produced, which I'm sure they've probably rectified by now and their dealerships know exactly where their batteries are coming from. Yeah, I would be shocked to find out that we bought electric vehicles, certainly not against buying electric vehicles, but I would like to see a condition of those electric vehicles be that they are not sourced from dirty lithium mines.
Thanks, councillor Dabner. Any other speakers for or against? Councillor Hine?
For it, yes, certainly I support it, and if anyone wants to look at the articles in the Advocate on the 11th of April that highlights what Councillor Dabner was saying, I've got a copy of it. But the other aspect of it is that when you look at how it affects even the Tasmanian economy, the fact that nickel's being purchased from another country that doesn't meet the Australian standards. We've got a mine down the west coast that had to close down, 200 odd workers, and there's only 20 there now, just got it on maintenance. And when you look further afield in Western Australia, it affected 3,500 workers. So it does have some effect on the Australian economy as well. And there's got to be somewhere that you rule a line and get some standards back in that meets our Australian standards. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor Hine. Any others? I won't be. Yeah, you'll get a chance. I won't be supporting, but not because I don't agree with what's been said per se, but my method will be to bring the actual vehicle purchasing policy here and overview it as a complete document rather than just dump that in, and that would then form part of that review of the purchase policy. So that will be my reason for not supporting the motion, not because I don't agree with the lithium thing and what comes through with it. So, as there's been a speaker against Councillor Flowers, you get the opportunity to sum up.
Yeah, well, it's a pity a few more of the councils throughout Australia didn't make this stand. Like, if no one makes a stand, we've got a lot of people out there thinking they're saving the environment, and they really look into it, they're killing the environment and they're killing the people to go along with it. Like, there's tribes and everything in certain countries that are getting killed through these lithium batteries. And it's not a good look. And this council should not have their finger in the pie as well.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll put the motion.
Look, can I put an amendment?
I suppose you can, it's not closed off, is it? Not
I
too
just
late.
want to,
You close the debate because Rodney Clear.
I have, I've closed the debate, sorry.
That's right.
I'm sorry, Ash is too slow, close the debate. Right, I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? All right. You get those, Matt?
Have you got the numbers right? Do you want to show of hands?
No, because there's the Deputy Mayor, myself and Councillor Popovsky against, the rest for.
Okay.
You got them, Matt?
Yep.
Thank you. And like I said, it was not because I didn't agree with that, but it's the way it was about. Councillor Flowers, take two.
In the past, we've had a couple of issues with the council offices not being open on normal working days. We've got a secondaries.
Yep, so is it seconded to the motion?
Seconded.
Councillor Dabner again?
Yeah, now, the council offices, we supply a service which we charge in our rates. I think the service should extend to these offices, should be open on working days, like public holidays, yes, closed. They don't have to be manned to normal, like if they've got a couple of employees in there, that's suitable, but if someone comes in, they've got someone to talk to. I know the workers are probably going to say, oh, well, we want our time off. I'm not saying he's not going to have time off. Other people have said to me, it's not costing us nothing to do what we're doing at the moment. It's not going to cost us nothing to have the office open either because we're already paying the people. When we look further afield, we go to the depot. The bloke driving the rubbish truck still works. So is he going to say, well, if it's good enough for the goose, it's good enough for the gander, so I'm not going to pick up the rubbish? No, that's not going to happen. Like, if it's good enough for the depot to do it, in my opinion, it's good enough to have a skeleton crew here at the office and have the doors open. I don't think we're asking too much, or I don't think I'm asking too much. We had an issue where the power was off. The power was going at 10 o'clock, but we didn't open the office. It's not that hard to open the door. And then the last time we had another issue with the death. They couldn't get in touch with the council. If we had someone, if it was manned, they would have got in touch with the council. So that's the last two times it's happened. Like I'm not expecting 20 people to be down there. Like two's enough. Skeleton crew, just enough to keep the doors open. And that's supplying a service which we are charging for in our rates. Our rates are going up every year. Our service level is not, I don't think. And this is one way of showing that we're trying, and it's not going to cost us a cent, it's not a brass razoo, to have the doors open for them few days.
Thanks, Councillor Flowers. Councillor Dabner, do you wish to speak?
I do, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I worked in local government for a pretty long time, and so I've got nothing but the utmost respect for all the staff that work in this organisation and elsewhere. So I tightly get all the staff aspect of an issue like this. If we can move to the public's position on a matter like this, I think they probably expect that on days that aren't public holidays or what's become the joke of the bank holidays, that the doors would be open to some extent. And to what extent is probably the question. Now, I appreciate that there's bigger complications due to enterprise bargaining agreements and all the other things that go on internally that the councillors are somewhat disconnected from. And I get that there are safety issues with running skeleton staff as well. I'm not sure what the minimum number of staff you need on site to be running over, say, Christmas periods during normal working days would be. And I'm just wondering whether perhaps the way forward on this one is to lay it on the table for now, pending discussion with directors, so that we can get a better understanding of exactly how things work internally, where things are at with the enterprise bargaining agreement, whether doing this is possible. I think if it is possible, I would like to see the doors open on normal working days, but at an absolute bare minimum, so staff are getting their leave and getting their well-deserved breaks. But I think people walking in off the street just want to talk to somebody. I don't think they necessarily expect the answers that they're going to get. And if they turn up and want to talk to planning, plumbing, building, but it's one of those special days, just knowing that there's an appointment being made for them or a note's been taken or their voice has been heard, I think is a really important thing that we as local government should be providing on normal business days. So I'd propose that we lay it on the table for now, perhaps, if whatever the correct procedure to do that would be.
That would be a procedural motion. We'll need a second. So a procedural motion that we lay it on the table.
Yep.
Discuss at a workshop.
So
Yep.
moved.
Seconded by Councillor, you moved that?
Yes, I'll
Seconded by
move that.
Councillor Oldacre?
Yep.
There's no debate on that, it's simply yes or no. I'll put the motion, those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Get that one?
Yep.
The two at the end is against. Right, so lay on the table, we'll come back to a workshop and then we'll bring it back. So you vote, we can schedule that in the not too distant then, please. Thank you, Councillor Flowers. Right, we'll go to financial report.
Oh, that's me. Thanks, Mr Mayor. Councillors, before you, we've got the financial report for the period ended 30th of April 2025. We received no new applications for the first homeowners grants, acknowledging 3 in total for the year. So we're significantly down on the last few years. So please encourage your first home buyers out there to come in and apply. In terms of the comprehensive income statement, year to date, we're at a $2.4 million loss. We're currently at 1.7 in terms of the annual budget. So we do have still financial assistance grants to come in as the main source of income still to go, and they generally come in on about the 29th of June. So that's a moving feast there. In terms of the statement of financial position, we've got an actual year to date of 277.6 million, which is predominantly made up of infrastructure, property, plant and equipment of 240 million. In terms of the statement of cash flows, year to date, we've currently got a cash at bank balance of 19.5 million. In terms of receivables, we've currently got receivables uncollected in terms of rates at 5.62% compared to 4.76% last year. So the take-up of, or the payment of rates has slowed a bit this financial year. In terms of sundry debtors, we've got 326,000 compared to 839 for the same time last year. And Councillor Flowers, on the bottom of page 158, we've got the pension remission collected that you requested from the last council meeting. So the current financial year, the state government have provided $282,000 worth of pension remission to Circular Head residents. In terms of the bank rec and cash at bank, we've got investments there, or term deposits listed, ranging from 3.6 for the cash for the cheque account up to 4.6. And we have the area reports listed on page 160 onwards. So I'll present that, Mr Mayor, and I'll take any questions and present it for Council's consideration.
Thanks, Rachel. Any questions? Councillor Popovsky?
Is it possible to have a running graph of leave liability included in the financial report?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I think that's probably something that we could put in closed agenda, I think. If Councillor okay with that?
Yeah.
Or as part of the open one, if we can de-identify things, then, yep.
Does that go in private otherwise, because it's It's not stating who it's owed to.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we can do
No
them,
names
we can
going
do
on
them,
side
we
of
can
it.
do them as totals.
Total figures should be all right and open, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
A running graph.
open and
of the figures.
transparent.
Yep.
Yep,
Just a clarification, you're talking about a month-by-month comparison?
Well, I thought 3 months would be enough. But if it, whatever's convenient to produce the graph, monthly would be ideal, but quite, I reckon.
Month's
fine.
not going to change that much, is it really?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I think we just take that on notice, we'll take that on
We'll
board. There were some issues.
develop
around-
something up, yep.
There'll be issues around long service, so you only probably calculate that once a
Once
year
every
and those
12
sort of things.
months.
So there'll be some challenges in some of those, in-house calculated, but the general one, we get the general gist of the question, we'll have a look at it.
Yep.
Thank you.
No worries.
Any other questions, councillor Hine?
Yes, on page 162 in the planning section, it's coming in under 200,000 under at the moment. You're expecting that to sort of nearly be the situation at the end of the financial year. You're actually $80,000 down, or 78 on income, but
Yep. I'll take that on notice, Mr Mayor, I'm
Yep.
not sure off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep. Any further questions to Rachel? If not, if I could have a mover and a seconder, please, that they be noted. Thanks, councillor Collins, seconder councillor Dabner. Put the motion, those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. 9.2, Literacy Action Plan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you, the Circular Head Education Training Consultative Committee and the state government funded 2610 have created an initiative and a partnership which has resulted in the Learning for Life Literacy Action Plan, which is attached to this report. The state government have fully funded the employment and operating expense for this and over for the next 3 years, and this plan will be used to guide the work of that employee of council, which is funded by a grant. And so I put this report so you may note the report, and I'll bring updates both through the committee's meeting minutes and through an annual summary report.
Thanks, Alan. Any questions? If not, could I have a mover and a seconder, that be noted. Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Seconded councillor Hine. I'll put the motion, those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. 9.3, animal control fees, that's James.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, before you, this is a report to consider your animal control fees for the 25-26 financial year. There is two main changes to note. One new fee for dog surrender to pass on fees imposed by or proposed by the Tasmanian Dogs Home next year. And the second is a return to owner fee of $55 for situations where dogs found at large and they're returned to the customer on the same day, just to recoup council's costs in that area. The rest is largely a 5% increase across the board, and I present that report for your consideration.
Thanks, James. Any questions? Councillor Flowers?
The return to owner fee, wouldn't that rate a GST? Isn't that a service, goods and service? Or are they all exempt? Don't look at me, I don't know.
We'd have to have a look at it.
Take it on notice, take it on notice, check it out.
Just that I queried that they're all GST exempt. I just
Yes.
wonder why they're all GST exempt.
Through you, Mr Mayor, some of the council statutory fees that we have are under what's called a Division 81 exemption. So there's a list of a bunch of them on there, but we can go and check it.
Yep. We'll take it on notice and come back, Councillor Flowers.
No worries, thanks.
Thank you. Any further questions? Not, can I have a mover and a second?
So
Thanks,
moved.
councillor Oldacre, second Deputy Mayor. No debate? Put the motion.
Hold on, Mr.
Oh, sorry, councillor Oldacre, didn't mean to slow you down.
Mr Mayor, I rise to speak in supporting this motion. What really disappointed me was the story in the Advocate today.
Yeah.
Yep.
To say that, and they quoted the fella from the Burnie Dogs, he was blindsided by this. Well, and they put the onus that we were the bad people, right? The fact is, he's charging us to take it, if the people take it up there themselves, and the reporters didn't touch on this at all, if the people themselves take something that they want to get rid of to the Burnie Dogs Act, it goes for nothing. So it's up to them. I thought it was very poorly reported, but as I've once said once before, some of these people don't like the truth to get in the way of a good story.
Thanks, Councillor Hogan. It's my understanding that our James or his team has been in contact with the Dogs Home all the way through the discussions as well. So where blindsided come into it, I'm not sure. Right, no further debate. We'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. General 9.4, curbside waste collection frequency. James, you again?
Yep, through you, Mr Mayor. This one's a report, councillors, to consider changing your curbside general waste collection service in the urban areas to a fortnightly model from weekly. It's the officer's recommendation in this instance that the change should be made to align with the introduction of the FOGO service, which is planned to be implemented in September, and to incentivise and encourage the use of that FOGO system. What it would result in is the avoidance or the reduction of waste sent to landfill as a result of moving west of the FOGO service, and therefore avoid the state-imposed waste levy that we get charged for disposing waste to landfill. So the recommendation there is to determine to change the general waste collection frequency from weekly to fortnightly, urban areas of Smithton and Stanley, to align with the introduction of the fortnightly food, organics and garden organics service, and to generally endorse the curbside collection model for the urban areas, which would include a fortnightly general waste collection, a fortnightly recycling collection and a fortnightly FOGO collection. So yeah, I'll present that report for your consideration and invite any questions.
Thanks, James. Any questions? Councillor Flowers?
Is the general public being told about this, or are we going to throw it out?
The general public have been consulted across the whole region in regard to the rollout of FOGO, so we're following, I guess, the lead of other councils in this regard. I
didn't ask whether it was following the lead of other councils. I'm asking is Joe Blow that lives on Massey Street know that he's going to go from a weekly pickup to a fortnightly pickup?
We haven't consulted with the general public in regard to specifically reducing the frequency of the curbside waste collection yet.
Through you, Mr Mayor, though, it is the intention, if the decision tonight, that will be communicated from tomorrow. So when the communication will start.
Well, the way I'm reading it, I could be reading it wrong, but the way I'm reading it, once we say, give you the thumbs up, it's going to happen. I just seem to think we should be laying this on the table and we shouldn't be, well, leading our, especially our Stanley and Smithton residents know that their pickup's going to be once a fortnight from now on, not once a week, because they're not going to be happy with that. Well, I wouldn't be if I was living in town with 4 kids and got a once a fortnight pickup.
Sorry, Mr Mayor. I think by going through the evidence that's been collected and the data that council has, it's a pricing decision in terms of the council making a decision without going to the public for consultation. If you go out to the public for consultation, they're always going to want the weekly service. If you have the weekly service, then the FOGO won't work. So you've already made a decision to go down the FOGO path. So if you go down the path of not doing fortnightly, FOGO will not work, and it will end up costing everybody way more because it'll all end up going into landfill, and that waste levy is going to skyrocket. So it's at $46 a tonne now. It's potentially been earmarked to go up to $120 a tonne, so that is going to cost everybody else a bucket load more in terms of that. If you're talking about people with 4 kids and whatever in town, they can buy another bin. They can buy another service and have 2 bins a fortnight go out for the same thing. So that there is options there.
I understand what you're saying and where you're coming from. I understand that fully.
Yep.
But we probably should be letting them know before we be throwing it on them.
Yeah, well, through you, Mr Mayor, I suppose council don't want to do that until council's made a decision on it. because there is always the option to go back the other way if there's no formal council decision made. So we could go out now, we could have gone out in the last month and actually said, what do you reckon about this, with no intention of leaving a weekly one there, then we'll have everybody up in arms and then council don't make a decision on it. So you need a formal decision for us to be able to implement an action.
Doesn't bother me in the least because mine's picked up a fortnightly, but
Yep.
I'm only thinking of the rate
Yep.
cars in
Yep.
Stanley.
And that's where the option of being able to have the second one. So I think we've roughly worked out, which we talked about at a workshop and you got it. It's got to be half and a bit more probably
Yeah, I
in terms
understand
of
all
that.
that.
So they can purchase another one and have two if they feel that they need more, which they can at the moment as well too.
Yeah, and like
Yep.
there's businesses there that
Yep.
have got half a dozen.
Yep.
Every
And that's
week.
still fine. Yep. So
Well,
they can still do that.
Well, they can have a dozen. Yeah.
Yep.
But, and what's it going to cost them?
A bin.
So look, and I don't really want to speculate at this point in time because we've still got to run the figures, but I think it was about $190 from memory for a urban collection for 12 months. And I think that's probably going to be $130. So for an extra $130 a year, they can have a bin picked up, an extra one every fortnight. So, yeah.
Yep.
Well, I won't be supporting it, but
Yeah,
I'm
that's right.
only one voice in this table.
That's all right. We are on questions, so. Councillor Halaga.
Mr Mayor, my question is, if you go to once a fortnight, are we going to have 3 bins out, one for general waste?
Through you, Mr Mayor, no, they'll be scheduled for alternate dates.
I just wanted to clarify.
So you're 2 on 1 week, 1 on the other week.
Yep, correct.
Councillor Collins.
I was just wondering how we're going to judge the amount of FOGO bins that we need for the restaurants and eateries around town. Are they going to be able to give us a number, or are they given a certain amount of bins? How do we deal with that?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'll have to take that question.
I can answer that.
You can answer that question.
Yeah, so the FOGO bins are only for residential customers.
Okay.
So they're not for commercial customers at this point in time. So the rollout along the coast has only been for residential customers.
Okay. Well, I would think that possibly the FOGO bins should be. What if these eateries want the FOGO bins?
Yeah, I think.
Can they be provided? Because they're probably going to have more food scraps than most of us.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor, there is, Veronica mentioned the other day that there is discussions with Dalberton in terms of a bulk place or discussion with commercial customers around how they can do that better than just having, because they'll probably fill a bin up pretty quick.
Exactly.
So how they can do a better way of doing
Smell
that.
might
So
not
that
be
is
really good after 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, that's right. So, Veronica did mention that that Dalberton are doing some work in that space. So I would say watch this space in terms of what comes there.
You got your Councillor Hine?
Yeah, just a clarification as much as anything, because you said the client or the resident purchase another bin. What's it going to cost that particular ratepayer per extra bin? 130.
Yeah, and look, but I'd have to clarify in terms of the purchase of the actual bin, but the service will cost it roughly around 130, and that's an estimate at this point in time because we haven't finalised the budget.
Yep. For the year.
Yep.
Extra $130 to have a second bin.
Yes.
What you're saying.
Yep.
That's a service.
Service.
There'll be cost
Yep.
for the bin, which should be.
Yeah, so a bin might
Yeah,
cost you
well-
$100 to go and buy it wherever,
Yeah, that's
or buy it
right.
off
Yep.
Veolia or whoever, Dalton or whoever's doing it.
Yep.
But yeah, the service that you would pay us would be roughly around $130.
For the extra bin. Or bins, if
Yep,
someone.
that's right. So there's always option there to have more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr Mayor, probably a point that I can add to that is that neighbouring councils such as Waratah Wynyard probably expected that there may be more requests for demand for additional bins than there actually has been. For example, Waratah Wynyard Council have only had a request for around 20 extra bins across its urban areas, so it's been quite small.
Yeah, and the FOGO uptake's actually been, we've modelled ours on basically a 50% diversion from waste to FOGO. But along the coast from evidence provided is that it's actually more than 50%. So obviously it's freeing up room in the normal bin, putting it in the FOGO and using recycling to then have not as much waste going into landfill.
Councillor Hine?
Just on that though, in Devonport's experience, there's 29% when they did that survey, actually not participating in that. So you're only going to get sort of 70% if you use those current figures as a guide.
Okay, no more questions? Can I have a move and a second for the report? Thanks, Councillor Oldacre, second Councillor Collins. I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Get him, Matt? Thank you. 9.5, greening strategy, release draft for public consultation.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, before you, councillors, is a report to endorse the release of the draft greening strategy to public consultation. We discussed at recent workshop the draft greening strategy. It outlines a long-term vision for enhancing council's green spaces across the urban areas of Smithton and Stanley. And it's built upon community feedback received through multiple other strategic projects that we've been working on recently. It deals with the landscaping conditions, considers resourcing constraints, and it adapts to the need for to provide for a climate adapted and more livable public spaces. So I'll present that report for you to consider and invite any questions that you might have.
Councillor Collins?
Yes, I think it's a great idea, this greening strategy and everything. I was in Geelong yesterday. Main road between two major shopping centres, multi-storey shopping centres. Beautiful green spaces on either sides of the road where people have got across, cars are coming along. There's been talk about, problems with roots and all that sort of thing, and they had quite large trees there with a lot of undergrowth under them. It looked fantastic. It's also keeping the streets cooler in the hotter days, and honestly, it made those streets look absolutely brilliant compared to what they had been. And I grew up in that area, so I've watched the progress over many years, and honestly, I can say it's a really good idea, and it looks much better than just having a stark space with all those shop fronts that sometimes are a little bit unsightly.
That wasn't quite a question, but that was all right.
It's just up the main street. I know it wasn't a question, but it was just in support of it, that it's a good idea.
Councillor Flowers?
Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just asking for the public that are viewing. This greening strategy is for council property only. It's not for private. We're not going to enforce anything on this sort of stuff on private land, are we?
Yeah, no, through you, Mr. Mayor, it just deals with council's land and road reserves under its control. In the urban areas.
The short answer is yes.
As long as the general public understand that they're not going to be beaten to death by a bunch of greenies.
Maybe, I'll leave that there. Any other questions, Councillor Hine?
A question through the chair back to Councillor Collins. What's the width of the streets?
They're quite wide.
Quite wide. Is that something where we should be? And tonight we've approved a right of way at Scottsdown Road, 10 metres. Should we be thinking about?
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, yeah.
What Councillor Hyde's on about, talking about widening roads, got nothing to do with greening.
Thank you. Yeah, Councillor Hine, Councillor Oldacre, quite right. You have got another debate at a different time. Thanks, Councillor Oldacre. Any questions on the greening strategy? Councillor Dabnett.
The tree remover.
Give it to him.
Firstly, congratulations on a very good report to the team who prepared it. That's one of the things that Smithton does lack, in particular Smithton, in comparison to towns and small towns you might visit in other states. Now, my question is, we've had issues regarding vandalism and damage to trees and things in the past. How do we propose to overcome that? Because if you take, say, Anzac Park, for example, there are a number of trees that were removed out of there on a fairly continual basis until eventually they gave up. But we've had examples around the town where we've had trees in gardens, such as Swirl is the example we've used, and they just don't get replaced. And would like to see that if we implement this greening strategy, that we're committed to actually making these things work. And much like Anzac Park, we persist until it prevails. Is that an element of all of this, how we're going to manage those scenarios?
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor, I think the best way to probably deal with that is to deal with it through the consideration of the Council's tree management policy, which will be a process that we'd look to undertake after the greening strategy. So in that policy, we could set a council position on, how we deal with tree vandalism. And I agree that replacing trees or assets that as they really are should be part of that policy. And it is council's current practice at the moment. But yeah, understand your concern.
Thank you.
Right, no further questions? Could we have a mover and a seconder then? Thanks, Councillor Popovsky. Seconded Deputy Mayor. No debate? Put the motion, those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Senior Manager's report.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The report's there. I'm happy to take questions as officers, managers will be tonight. My appointments are there. I have included in there some information in relation to the two key strategic projects we're working on, which is the Smithton Town Centre plan in the Circular Vision Statement to show where it's at, what's been completed and what's in progress. And then there's obviously some information there around the community space where we can take any questions you might have, and also the Director of Infrastructure has also provided some information on West Esplanade and Nelson Street. Happy to take any questions, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Flowers.
Meeting with Greenham's on that. Can we discuss what that's talked about, or is that sort of private and confidential?
No, through you, Mr Mayor, the meetings with Greenham's was in relation to the subdivision application that was before us tonight. They had some concerns with that. It was updating me in relation to their intentions and plans for their site, and some issues I got there with access and ingress and egress in relation to trucks coming off the highway. Talked about an issue with their property out at Marrawar. I think that was generally it. And the truck wash was also another thing that we talked about. And just generally those issues, which I progressed some of those issues for them, and was a lot of the other was just for my information and for noting. So it was more just a round table with Graham Preddy, Peter Greenham, and a third person there that was looking after their development, which his name escapes me here tonight.
The head financial man he was.
Was they happy with what we approved tonight with the subdivision? Is that what their hopes and plans was, or?
Through you, my understanding is that's the application is what they were looking for. So yep. My understanding is that the approval tonight is in line with what they needed, because there's obviously a different transaction that I'm not aware of in between Tall Timbers and with Greenhouse. But my understanding is that they were supportive of the application that was before council from Tall Timbers.
Do they want to bash you over the truck wash at stand? Because I know they're not very happy with that.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I wouldn't use those terms. I'd say we had some good discussions around that, and some of the issues I'd already been dealing with in the background with them. So I thought it was a good discussion. I don't know there was any bashing going on in the room.
It's okay. Thank you.
Any further questions to the General Manager? If not, could I have a move and a second that the report be noted, please? Thanks, Councillor Hines. Seconded, Councillor Dabner. Put the motion, those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. 9.7 is minutes of other bodies and committees. We've got Circular Community and Recreation Centre, Chaddock and the Wellbeing Collective. Is there any questions or comments on any of those? No? Okay, if I could have a move and a second, they be noted then, please. Thanks, Councillor Hines. Seconded, Councillor Dabner. Put the motion, those in favour.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Now I need, on 10, I need Resolution by absolute majority that the matters listed be considered in the closed meeting. So move, thanks Councillor Hines, seconded Councillor Collins. Put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. And by absolute majority we go into a closed meeting. Close the meeting, go into closed. Councillor Hines and Councillor Flowers. Put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried.